Well, I've certainly learned this. You know, and I don't know why earth angels are always put around bullies, but they always are. I don't know if it's to help us transmute energy at a young age or what. But I did, when I was a little kid, you know, and I had this gift. I just remember looking at them, a few of the kids that bullied me, and because some, you know, magical crap would happen, and I just looked at them and said, yeah, you better leave me alone, you know. And they did too. They did, because I'm gonna unleash some crap on you if you don't. Bullies aren't just teenagers in high school. They are also adults in offices with nice titles who think they have the right to break the spirits of others so they can feel better about their miserable lives. No truer words were ever stated. So anyway, and I said, both attorneys and the court clerk help orchestrate this trafficking case day one. You know, so anyway, we're going to go and we're going to start it over. And we're going to listen to it. So this is a fake divorce case. So, good morning. Anyway, this is about my trafficking case. And, you know, this is a fake divorce case. It is. And it involves stealing real estate, my pension, my trust fund, you know, the whole thing. And it's gone on for 9 years, and I have no idea. They just keep dragging it out, and most of the time they blame it on me as they take me back to court constantly, and I have no idea they're doing it on purpose. So anyway, I get downloaded it right when I figure out the whole entire crime from, you know, they wanting to traffic me, steal my pension, steal my trust fund, steal my identification, you know, the whole thing, right? The whole time they're saying I'm crazy. I've gotten a psychiatrist for years because family dysfunction. So we know, no, I'm not. And my IQ ain't low either, and I damn well know it. That's right. So anyway, we'll go down here. Look at this as 9 years of BS. This is a fraudulent divorce case, right? It is. So he didn't want a divorce, so he didn't file suit in his legal name. He never told the court that he established California jurisdiction. So he files in Alaska using his non-legal name. Okay, so then lately, none of these, they never served me divorce papers. Let's start off with that. So we'll just go down here real slow to prove that. You're not going to see any certificate of service proving a divorce papers were served to me, right? You're not going to see it. It's not going to happen. And so anyway, they never do it. They never served divorce papers to me in this entire divorce case. They even have a hearing on what they never served divorce papers. So anyway, they don't do it. We're going to just still go down here. We're real short. I'm bored with it. I really am. I want to move. But they're preventing me from moving, and they did that on purpose, and that was to target me. See the child support guidelines affidavit. This needed to be turned in when they filed on 10/6/2015. Then they even get 120 days, and they don't do it within 120 days. But they deceive them, and they answer a complaint, right? Answer to complaint. Well, these things needed to be submitted to answer that complaint. So they're answering something that wasn't even, you know, it wasn't legal, you know.
Wasn't
and
complete.
The court clerk, what did the court clerk
wasn't
do?
Complete.
The court clerk never made sure any of these items were in. The court clerk is supposed to make sure all these items are submitted for.
Okay, so anyway, if a court clerk sees that it's not complete, they're supposed to file an incomplete civil 4J administrative rule. You can't serve a complaint for divorce if you don't submit the required documents, but you can if you're in the club.
Divorce complaint before it is served, you know, because how can you answer a complaint if none of these items are in the complaint, right? So yeah, right there, they're answering a complaint, answer to complaint for divorce, and counterclaim for what you haven't turned in tax returns and the most current pay stubs, not the amount of.
They never turned in the tax returns because they were Oh my God, they were doing a whole identity swap. They were stealing my identification. They were stealing a trust fund my mother gave me. They were stealing my whole entire estate. They were stealing the pension from my part of the pension from the 302 operating engineers. They were going to town on me and just abusing the hell out of me. Meanwhile, you know, I'm taking care of my special needs son. He was 13 when we entered this case, you know, and yeah. And so, yeah, they were having custody, investigations and everything. And none of these mofos could figure out the man didn't even live in this state. You know, he wasn't claiming residency here. So that's how good your investigations went.
Support that you want, but the one that's based on fact, right? They don't want to do that. Nope. And they definitely did not gauge me correctly. Nobody ever does. Nobody ever does. Because I don't go around, you know, like my brothers, they brag about their intelligence, right? One of them does specifically. The other one, not so much. But one does, you know, and I never did because, well, I wasn't allowed, right? So they never really knew me. They never knew, you know, that I had an IQ, high IQ too. They didn't know that. So anyway, here we go. We're going to go down through the divorce. We can't do this. This is 9 years, so we're not going to spend 9 years. Okay, so what happened is they're hiding a trust fund, right? And so anyway, there's the trust writ of garnishment. It's not the court trust. It's a trust fund they're stealing. So anyway, I get led to that fact. And then I put in here notice of a report I submitted to law officials, right? And I did that quite a while ago. And
I submitted a report to law enforcement because they have my identity in another state. They were serving writs to take away my home, but just like the divorce papers, they would never serve them to me, right? And I start going, why aren't they serving the divorce papers to me? And then I figure out, oh yeah, they stole my identity, had me living in a different state. So they could never serve me anything with a return certificate of service and documented in the court docket. You'll see a ton of writs that got receipts, but they were never served to me because they stole my identity, had me living in a different state. So they couldn't serve me, right? In Alaska, because they had me living in California as an incapacitated woman, just like my ex always wanted.
I let them know, hey, I've turned it into law enforcement after I found out they were going to traffic me, right? They're going to make me disappear because they stole, not only did they steal all my assets, they stole my identity, deemed me mentally incompetent.
Yeah.
So now they're going to traffic my 64-year-old ass, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to disappear one night, me and my special needs child, because, you know, these guys got to fill their pockets full of money, right? And so in order to do that, they have to make me disappear, right? Okay. So my mom worked her hard ass for these scumbag pieces of crap, right? Okay. So and I said, notice that they put no divorce papers. That's not what I submitted to court.
They were never served.
It says on 4/24/2025, which is just this last week. Notice no divorce papers. So nope, that's not what I submitted. So here I sent to Amanda Lancaster here, you know, and the court system, because I actually put Lancaster's address wrong, so I had to do it correctly, right? So anyway, resubmitted notice with correct address for Amanda Lancaster. And I did that because my certificates of service had the wrong address. And I turned in to the court notice divorce papers were never served. I put ever right there. Notice no divorce papers were ever served to defendant Kim LG with proof of service as required by law, which violated service of summons and complaint under Civil Rule 4. You know, it's 4J, really. Okay, so what does the court put in there is my recording, because court clerks were involved in this too.
Yeah.
You know, they were involved in hiding no divorce papers were ever served. And they just put in here, notice no divorce papers.
Yeah, they won't put ever served.
Can they write a long sentence? Oh, yeah, they're quite capable. But if you're a guilty party to the crime, you're not going to do that. You're just going to put notice no divorce papers. That's what you're going to put, right? And that's not what was filed. It was notice no divorce papers were ever served to defendant Kim LG with proof of service as required by law, which violated service of summons and complaint under Civil Rule 4. Okay, and that's where it's taken place. Okay, then I wrote, as reflected by the court docket, no divorce papers with the required documents to file a divorce complaint were ever submitted and served to defendant Kim LG, and no certificate of service was ever recorded in the court docket as required. A civil deficiency memo was sent out to plaintiff's attorney to submit the required listed documents on 10/21/2015, but the court clerk never received them and docketed them as received in the court docket. So, and then what I'm talking about is all these documents right here. Yeah. They were never submitted for my ex-husband. Why? Because he's hiding his legal name from court, his California jurisdiction, and they're dragging my ass through a fake divorce because
the tax returns would have proved the embezzlement of two businesses in the 2014 tax returns, and because he filed suit on 10/6/2015, his 2014 tax returns were to be submitted, but they didn't want to do that, right? So they're like, they never submitted this, they never submitted this, they never submitted this, they never submitted this, they never submitted this. It's a fake-ass divorce case in Alaska.
Doesn't want a divorce because they stole my trust fund. Now they're going to steal my entire estate. Now they're going to traffic my ass into the grave or somewhere else, and I'm going to fight you back like a son of a bitch. Give me my trust fund! And so anyway, this trust fund my mom left me has become detrimental to me and my son's well-being. And then, like I said, we had our well broken into. He's suffered liver damage. I am done with your MF asses. And I will unleash some crap you will have no idea exists. Yeah. So as reflected, I don't have to touch a hair on your friggin' head. I was born transmuting energy.
That's right.
And
Amen.
Don't you forget it.
Amen. I was.
It's just a natural gift. As reflected by the court docket, no divorce papers with the required documents to file a divorce complaint were ever submitted and served to defendant Kim LG, and no certificate of service was ever recorded in the docket as required. A civil deficiency memo was sent out to plaintiff's attorney to submit the required listed documents on 10/21/2015, but the court clerk never received them and docketed them as received in the court docket. The civil deficiency memo was ignored by both attorneys and the court clerk on the case for plaintiff Kevin Alfonsi LG. His legal name he was hiding. And the civil deficiency memo was ignored for plaintiff Kevin Alfonsi LG, who was hiding his legal name from court and his legal California jurisdiction. This case by law was required to be dismissed under Administrative Rule 4J as incomplete without the required documents submitted and listed in that memo. The only two items on the list they submitted were turned in months late, well after 120 days. So what they would normally do if they weren't committing fraud against me is they would have sent this out, as they did. Then they have 120 days to get it in. But what could they not do? Well, they certainly couldn't answer a complaint without the correct submitted documents, which they did. Mr. Goldman, my attorney, was answering a complaint on 10/21. Actually, he did it on 10/23. Answer to complaint. Okay, for divorce and count. He can't answer it. If these documents are in, what the hell's he answering something? He can't answer it. They knew it. Okay, Mr. Goldman, my attorney, was answering a complaint on 10/23/2015 that was never served and without the proper documents required to answer a complaint, showing this was orchestrated for a pretended divorce. Okay, they turned in the DR 305 child support guidelines affidavit 8 months later, 8 months after it was due. after it was due. So
That's
it's
right.
due when? When you serve the complaint. It was never served, and they never submitted it. They submitted the DR 300 child support order in the year 2017. These documents are required to serve with your complaint. Okay, well, they were embezzling. They were doing everything. They were stealing my trust fund. They were going to make me disappear. The rest of the documents, which included the tax returns of 2 businesses, were never submitted, which helped Mr. LG, because that's his name, Kevin Alfonsi LG, embezzle those businesses. You know, I don't even give a crap. It's taken my life, you mofo, and you're going to ask for something you never dreamed of. Yeah. This was done because they were
let it unleash, man. Let it unleash.
And trust fund and pension, as Kevin LG did not want a legal divorce, and he never received one. Me and my son were taken through years of abusive litigation without the proper child support to rob us. So when they hid those tax returns, what'd they do? They altered child support. Yeah. So, and then he's living next to me in a building, breaking in all the time, right? Yeah, he's breaking in. What do? They end up building my transmutation of, energy. That's what they do.
Yep.
Yeah, and that means I'm going to get led to every friggin' thing you do. Now, this comes up clear on a, they don't know anything about it. They couldn't get this gift if they tried. Because people like this aren't allowed to receive this gift.
Nope.
Because they're scumbag pieces of crap.
Yeah.
And God won't allow them to.
That's right.
So anyway, we're going to go down here, and this just shows all the court cases. So it's very clear what I submitted to court, and it shows what? They never served the divorce papers, right? So that's what it shows. It shows they didn't do it. They got a receipt to serve the summons, but they never did. They turned this in, and the court clerk at the time said, no, you can't do it. You gotta please fill out the required documents in your domestic relations case. What is this? Does this say you can do it, or we want you to, but you don't have to? What does it friggin' say? Please fill the required documents in your domestic relations case. Please file the required documents in your. It doesn't say that, you don't have to do it. No. Now, normal person, some Joe Schmo walking into court, they're not going to let him even attempt to do anything without filing the required
Gotta be a club member to screw people over. Gotta be a club member.
If you're in their friggin' club, you get to do this.
Amen.
Yeah. So that's how fair this system is. Okay, then it gives my attorney. My attorney's now answering a complaint with what? Without the required documents. Okay, so we'll go on.
That's how good he is.
We know this wasn't done. They can say they lodged it, but it wasn't done.
Nope.
Because what happens? I go to Vital Statistics, and what does Vital Statistics tell me 2 years later? We never got a divorce.
They said they never got the original divorce decree, but they received the motion to amend decree and restore plaintiff's maiden name back to Kevin Alfonsi. And so then they got the second amended divorce decree, but she said they couldn't fulfill that because they never got the original divorce decree. So I pull it out of my pocket and I show the clerk. Now, remember, this decree is sent to me online by my attorney. He doesn't do as required. He never sends me a certified copy from the courthouse. They just send me a decree online, from email. And I print it out and I take it into Vital Statistics to get a certificate of divorce. And they say to me, they got the motion to amend decree, they got the second decree. I show her this decree and she goes, well, your husband didn't file suit in his legal name. And I said, what's his legal name? And she shows me the motion to amend decree and restore his name. And she said, his name's Kevin Alfonsi LG. We can't give you a certificate of divorce. You got to go back to court and motion for one to be issued in his legal name, Kevin Alfonsi LG. The court refuses. Well, we know why. The court didn't even serve me divorce papers. So the court knows. Everybody's still in a trust fund. Everybody's still in Miss LG's assets. And they know Miss LG's eventually going to get trafficked. That's what they know.
Decree from the courthouse. And then I pull one out of my pocket and show it to her that Ken Goldman sends me online. What was he supposed to do as an attorney? He was supposed to send me a certified copy. Why didn't he? Because this was a pretended divorce. So Vital Stats never got this because he was using his non-legal name, filing suit out of his California jurisdiction. You know, so then, yeah, application to peer by telephone. And then, yeah, you can see they never did it, right? They're even having hearings, you know,
no divorce
stuff.
papers
But what did they
served.
never do? They never served divorce papers. Both attorneys don't notice they never served divorce papers, and you know, the court clerk who's supposed to make sure all those documents are in that divorce complaint, supposed to make sure all these documents are in this divorce complaint before it's even served to me, and they make sure those documents are not entered. Yeah, because they're not doing a real divorce. They're doing an identity theft case. They're stealing a trust fund. They're stealing an estate. And then they're going to make me disappear, because what else did they steal? They stole my identification, and they had me living in Dixon, California, right? So anyway, I don't know why it's turned to blue. Now, when do they turn in this child support guidelines affidavit? They turn it in. Oh, it's going to stay. They're going to turn it in several months after it was due.
It was due on 10/6/2015. 8 months later, they turn it in.
Right there is when Kevin turns it in.
For the first time. For the
in
first
his child
time, he
support
turns it
figure?
in.
302 operating engineer
Pay stubs.
pay stubs, coming up with a child support figure that they want, that they feel that he could play. He's making $14,000 a month. And businesses that I'm a partner, he's using partnership assets. So this isn't just a crime against a wife. I was a business partner too, right? Yeah. And he always talked about how stupid I was. And then later on, they went on to defame my character and say I had a venereal disease. I guess it started off with herpes and HIV. And yeah, my doctor can, to this day, can testify I have none of those diseases or any diseases.
I never had a venereal disease.
So there you go. But the whole point is they got to massacre your character, right? Call you a cheater. I've never been a cheater. You know why I'm not a cheater? Because I grew up with a cheater in the household and watched my father just be torn apart by a serial cheater. That's why I'm not a cheater, because I saw that break my father. So I wasn't going to do that to any man because I witnessed it. So yeah, they said I was a hoe and a cheater and everything I'm not. Yeah, no, I grew up and learned not to do that because I saw my dad just get destroyed by it. He was my best friend, right? So what do they do? So we know a court clerk helped, and we know 2 attorneys helped do what? Not serve me divorce papers as required by law. Okay.
This crime was planned out years before they did it, right? Years before. So it took a village. It took a village. My gift hates your village. I don't know how many villagers it's going to visit, but I know it's going to visit some of you.
And that's reflected in the court docket,
Yeah.
right? And then that was reflected in the, letter that I sent Lancaster, right? So that was reflected. And I said, no divorce papers were ever served to defendant Kim Elgie with proof of service. You're supposed to prove it, just like all the writs. They never wanted to serve me any writs. Why? Because they stole my identity. And where did they have me living? Not in Alaska, I'll tell you that for sure. They had me living with my husband, right?
Yeah.
Still
married to him.
And they had me living in Dixon, California, at the jurisdiction that he hid. So that's where they had me living. They had me living right here, right? So they had me living in California. I had no idea that he moved all of the construction assets to California in 2013. So he filed for divorce on 10/6/2015, right? So he did that. So we'll go back up here. So right here is when he filed for divorce, 10/6/2015, and he was hiding what? Well, if he's saying his business, Advanced Builders of California, is 6 years and 1 month old on January 11th, 2019, That puts him back to the year 2013. So why?
And guess what these sadists do to me too? Okay, so Kevin's living in California, right? And then he's also telling the court, I'm refusing to do visitation, that he's with his father in Ohio. And he's like, she won't let me see my son. She won't let me see my son, right? And so anyway, I get in trouble from Judge Cagle, who I feel is very well aware of where Kevin's at. And I get in trouble for not doing visitation. When he's hiding, he's a California resident, and he's in California. This was in 2019. And when you're an agent of a business, a LLC, you have to be on premises in order to receive documents. You can't be an agent of an LLC in California unless you're a resident. He didn't file as a foreign entity. So, you know, they're punishing me in court for not doing visitation. I can't do because the man's living out of state. So they're sadists. They're friggin' sadists.
He filing for divorce in Alaska in 2015 and hiding his legal name in his California jurisdiction. Tell me that.
Yeah, sadist.
You know, and these are Kevin's friends' address. See Alaska Nut and Honey. They have that same address, 5420 Dixon Avenue. Kevin's friends, and my address, not true. It's not my address.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what they had. So this was the business that he was hiding too. So, and at this time, because they've rigged this divorce, and everybody knows it's around stealing a trust fund that my mother gave me, and they're going to steal my entire estate, the property I live on today.
My identity.
They would never serve me any writs. Why? Because they couldn't. Why? Because they had me living here. So this was excess.
Not only that, in order to get the trust fund in the my mother's obituary, Delphine Isabel L.G. Gage, where do I have her at? Just a second, I will show her. In order to get my trust fund that she leaves me, that's detrimental to my health, I would have just been fine without it. And we would have been fine, but now I know it's there. I know it's being used to try to put me in jail, to, you know, do all this crap to me. So it's become a weapon of destruction, right? So anyway, here's Mom's obituary. Okay, so this is my mother's obituary. We're going to take a little break here. And they stole the trust fund. First of all, in the obituary, they put my name. It looks like it's not going to let me. I have to zoom down on it. So anyway, this is my mom, and this is where she died. I was estranged. I think the thief helped that estrangement personally. And then my brothers never contacted me for years. They didn't care. And then they're like, do you want to come? And then they told me she couldn't even comprehend. If I'd have talked to her, she wouldn't have been able to comprehend me anyway. And I certainly wasn't going to go, you know, see her with these narcissists around her, you know, definitely not going to do it. And plus, it's proven that they orchestrated this crime, this inheritance crime, before she even died. So you could just see how welcome I would have been, you know, to be around my mother, right? Yeah. So not welcome at all. And I was told she was incoherent anyway, you know. And so anyway, you know, that's where it all happened. And that's when they stole the trust fund that she left me. And you know, no, not all the relatives were notified, because they even put in here, she is survived by her husband Jay Gage, son John L.G., and son George L.G. And I believe Jay had to die first before they did probate. So, you know, they couldn't do it before he died. Anyway, she is survived by her husband Jay Gage, son John L.G., son George L.G., Myrna, daughter Kim Alfonsi. Now, see, my name's never been Kim Alfonsi, but my mom called me Kim L.G. Alfonsi, and see, that's how she would leave something for me. Well, all these crusty-ass attorneys know that, and Kevin especially knows that. And in Kevin's opposition to me getting a legal divorce decree in his legal name at the time of divorce, which they deny me because they're all stealing from me, He says I later on started using this name, Alfonsi, when I never did. So this is really your proof that you served all parties that were entitled to know about any probate, right? And they never did serve me, right? And Ken Goldman, my attorney, said he would look into it for me. Oh, he looked into it for me. Oh, yeah. But he said he found nothing. Yeah, he found nothing. So anyway, so we know this isn't my legal name. My name's been Kim Elgie since 1998. So they know they never served me. And then my brother George, he has me as Kim Elgie Alfonsi in his ancestry.com. Well, don't you think that mofo's name, don't you think that George should have said something, since he's the boss king, that he should have said Kim's name's Kim Elgie Alfonsi, right? Wouldn't he say that? Notice the name Elgie just hidden totally all the way through this son of a bitch, because everybody involved in here, they're stealing money from Kim, and they know it. Yeah, and that's why I left. You know, I was told by my doctor and my psychiatrist, leave him. You're the scapegoat. They're going to do all kinds of crusty crap to you, including stealing an inheritance, apparently. So anyway, we'll go back to the story. And this is where they put me, right? So they go into my mom's probate court case. They deem me mentally incompetent with a falsified power of attorney. And then Kevin gets control of my trust. And then now it's just time to make me disappear. Oh, you have no idea what's coming to you. Oh, yeah. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Don't worry about it. Can't do anything about it. Don't even worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Property of Kim Elgie, but it couldn't be Kim Elgie's what? Primary physical address with her son, William Elgie Alfonsi.
Yeah, they'd never served me any writs or anything to the address here in Alaska, because they don't have me living here after they go to that probate court, right?
Tons of you know. I mean, that kid knows more of the people than ever. Where did they have us living? They had us living here. And they knew what? They knew they conflicted the title on the property. All these men gagged up on me in court and told me I was taking the Endeavor property. Why? Because they had intentions. Well, they stole my identification. They showed up to probate court. They got my trust fund. They had me living at this address. So the real Kim Elgie, she doesn't live here at 2150 South Endeavor Street. They're not going to acknowledge it as my primary physical address, and they don't. And that's why they'll never serve any writs to me here, because they don't have me living here. You know, so it wasn't just an estate robbery. It wasn't a divorce. Oh, Kim doesn't agree with the door. No. It was they stole my ID, they stole my estate, and they stole my trust fund, and now they were going to traffic me. And God says, and I'm going to go to hell on their asses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and he is. So, you know, get ready for it. I've been wrong. What have I been wrong about so far?
Nothing.
So what were they hiding?
Nothing.
They were hiding this. Where's the first case it shows up in? Trust writ of execution and trust writ of garnishment. Does it say court trust? Court trust has a number. Say court trust. These are specific in a law book. They mean they're stealing money out of a trust fund that I've never seen today, as they intended, right? And it was in the court case, law offices of Kenneth J. Goldman, my attorney, versus Kim Elgie. So we know what they had this plan.
So my attorney is suing me, knowingly suing me, knowing he never served me divorce papers, and he knows I'm not getting a legal divorce, right? Yeah. And they're going to do some F around and find out. Welcome. You get to meet Kim Elgie. Her friends and lots of her friends and family don't know. She's a psychic intuitive that is pretty good at transmuting energy.
To do day one, because they didn't want me to get a divorce, day one, so they were not going to serve me divorce papers. Because why? They couldn't steal my trust fund if I was served divorce papers. No, So they never record that they served me a summons or anything. They planned on trafficking my 64-year-old ass, is what they planned on doing. And they underestimated my intelligence, and that's been done my whole life. But it worked out to my benefit. Go ahead. And I used to be called a spaz retard when I was a kid. Yeah, go ahead. Call me whatever you want. If anybody's a spaz retard in that family, certainly wasn't my ass.
That's right.
Hey, Mom.
What, honey?
You save the world?
No, honey. I'm just trying to get us out of this mess. So anyway, go get yourself dressed because we're going to go do stuff, okay?
I always got to eat breakfast this morning.
Well, you can eat breakfast. There's plenty of cereal on top of the... There's plenty of cereal, right?
Are you really fighting back?
Yes, I am. I'm doing a video right now. I'm fighting back the best I can. They don't let you fight back in court. They rig it. Okay, so now I got to go do this one. Okay, so let's be quiet, okay? Let me do this video here.
That plays out, you know, in an estate robbery.
Okay, so this is the video going over the property they'll never serve writs to, right? So before they did the divorce fraud, they rigged it so I couldn't sell my property, and then they gave it to me in fake divorce because they're targeting me, right? They're going to do a well sabotage. I think we were poisoned. My son has liver damage. The cat almost died, but I saved her. But the well is there's so much water in the well that, and we had a leak, and I think it was divine too, because it was just pushing that water up, right? So as that water, we had a leak in the house. So as the water, would go down the drain, then it would fill up that well, and then that well, and then I think, yeah, there was definitely divine intervention to clean that well out. So anyway, here we are. We're going to go over the property they conflicted the title first on before they start the fraudulent divorce.
So there's a lot that plays out, you know, in an estate robbery, right? And mostly you don't want to let your victim get away, you know, so you do some strategic moves. So I am the victim, and I was the one that was, you know, they wanted to trap me, right? And so even in divorce, they're like, you're going to take this side, you're going to take this side. So this tract got divided into two pieces, and Connect Tire and Auto is over here now, and then I live over here now, right? Okay, so it's full commercial land, and it was being hidden, and it's on the second page of this plat, you know. So anyway,
Commercial tracks are noted.
Tracks, part of A, and then E, F, and G, right? Okay, so they don't want me to sell it. And when people would go to the city, they'd tell them it was residential because it was in zoning residential, but they'd lead them to believe like you can only build a house, you know, or whatever. And everybody's like, well, you can see Connect Tire.
It's zoned, okay, it's full commercial title, but it was in a zoning of rural residential, RR, which means you can have up to 10,000 square feet of commercial use, which is huge, right? But city officials, because they were helping, just like the court clerk and everybody else, they're targeting an individual. That people would go in interested in the property, and they would say, it's residential, you can only have a house, you know, I mean, and they would just lie to people. Well, how can you fight that? If you've got city officials just blatantly lying to people that are interested in your real estate, you're going to get sabotaged. Realtors were told not to sell it. People even told me, I thought you were crazy at first, but I'm seeing crap happen now. And I said, oh no, there's definitely, people are told not to buy it, not to sell it, everything. And they can't even get it appraised. Yeah. And so this was just to impoverish me, kick me out onto the streets, right? And this is all this crime was, because he was gonna, they would be able to say, see, she can't manage her money, she can't have her trust fund, look, she lives on the streets. Well, you purposely put me there, you dumb son of a effing bitches.
And I said, well, these people just get told that it's residential. I've heard him tell me that. In fact, I guess the contractor at Connect Tire and Auto, it was one of the builders that used to see around all the time that's gone now. Anyway, they said they were going to go to court because they could see, you know, that it was full commercial on title and that it was commercial. But anyway, I basically had to give away this side because of that title conflict that was purposely done to prevent me from selling it. But since they bought it so low for cash, it was the only reason I could sell it, right? So anyway, what happened was I went in to subdivide my land into 2 pieces, as stated on this old, Matsu right there. It was called Talarico Tract G, and it had 5.4 acres, okay? So,
and it's in my name.
That's what happened. I wanted to pay my mom back. I wanted to escape from hell, but I've been stuck here ever since. So anyway, and we had a loan at First National Bank for the cabins. So that's what we had, me and my mother. So anyway, on here,
me and my mother had a cabin rental business. Now, what's really interesting about this loan number is it shows 2 loan numbers on here. This 28150214113, it doesn't have this /1 on it. And now there's another number, and also there's a few different addresses too on this property. Just saying, it looks kind of funny.
Chose me because the business paid for it. Me and my mom were business partners. That's why Kevin's name is not on here. And they wanted to hide that all the way through.
You got to imagine, me and Kevin were married in 2000. We didn't even move down to the gift shop property until 2008, right? So that's less than 10 years. And it shows on the books, and I have them, that this property was kept separate, but because this was a fake divorce, they hid through court that this business property was kept separate. And Kevin wants this property. And he wants to make me disappear because that's what a narc does, right? But you got to watch out when you pick on certain people because they might have been raised around narcs and they might be able to, they might have gifts you don't know anything about. They might, have had a lot of narc experience. And they might like to F around with narcs and say, hey, little narc boy, little Kevin, F around and find out, you stupid little bastard.
And say this was marital when it was gone out of their way to keep it separate. But anyway, this is what the project was, and it was to subdivide Tract G of 5 acres into 2 lots, right? And petitioner would like to vacate Hastings Road behind Tract G. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm just going in to subdivide my Tract G. Well, I have no idea the boys once more are going to gang up on Kim. I need to be ganged up on, apparently. I'm not subservient enough. Yeah, they want to train me. They want to give Kim a master. I need a master. So anyway, what they did was they went in here and a land use permit at the city of Wasilla got falsified, and then they put my land on a different plat. So you can see the plat originally was over here. This is a long story. I know this ins and outs of this SOB too. So anyway, they're gonna keep me stuck, right? They're gonna prevent my sale. It was the whole
and then target me for abuse. Yeah.
They're going to open up my gifts. This is all part of training the earth angel. Okay, so then all of a sudden, they say proposed subdivision. It's a land use permit for subdivision. So it says tracts G1 and G2. Okay, and then, Tract G. There it is, because that's all they're doing. Tract G, right? My Tract G, right here, shows Tract G, right? And it shows what? Again, it's 5.4 acres, Tract G. 5.4 acres, where is it? Subdivide Tract G, 5 acres into 2 lots. Okay, that's it. Yeah, we got that. Tract G. Well, all of a sudden, Tract G has 14.4 acres with some shady crap going down. Once more, Trap Miss LG in Wasilla, Alaska.
How can a subdivision with 2 end up being 3?
So anyway, number of lots per 3. Yeah, I don't. It was funny. My friend goes, I think they just kind of have this good old boys thing. Well, you don't put somebody like me in that environment, for God's sakes.
No, we can't do good old boys.
No, I can't be in a good old boy environment. It's like gross.
They require you to either have to be in the club to be promoted as a female, and then most of the females are not that, a lot of them aren't that intelligent. But they're club members. So, whatever. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm definitely a fish out of water. I'm just like, I do not belong here because I don't want to eat your poison or your BS and tell you that it tastes good. Yummy, it tastes good. No, it doesn't. It doesn't taste good. It's stupid. It's stupid. It does not taste good. Yeah, and I'm in one of the most, they say, one of the most corrupt areas of Alaska because it has one of the highest growth, so it attracts the most corruption.
You know what those guys do? Never mind.
These kind of crimes is what they do.
3/13/08, right? Okay. And they certainly don't like independent women, I'll tell you that.
No way.
And I mean, I'm right there for my man.
I am loyal. That's how, I mean, I used to defend Kevin all the time, and because I'm loyal to my man, right? And then then I start seeing, you're a predator. Why do you have a 15-year-old girl's phone number on your phone? Just answer me that, right, scumbag?
I also will fight. So anyway, they take my land behind my back. See, I'm thinking, I'm just, they're vacating Hastings Road. Here's my tract.
Acres.
Why is it saying on this application I have 14 acres? Why? Why is it saying that? And I don't know it. And Kevin's attending the meetings and stuff. And I could feel intuitively there was crap going on behind my back. So yeah, they're taking Hastings Road out. Yeah. Okay. So that would involve the tract behind me, right? Okay, so anyway, I don't know what's going on. I don't know that they're trying to hide my full commercial title under another plat. Well, and I'm very familiar with plats because me and my first husband used to go look at real estate.
My husband, John Owens, my first husband, he was an electrician, but when he was a surveyor before he became a lineman, before he became an electrician. So before he became an electrician and lineman, he was a surveyor. So he taught me about plat maps. And these guys don't know that. And neither does Kevin. The genius. You're not a genius. You're an idiot.
And he was a surveyor. So all these idiots don't know that I know about plat maps, right? And land setbacks and easements. They don't know I know any of that crap, just like they, underestimated me in their, divorce fraud and in their inheritance fraud. And I've pretty much been, underestimated my entire life, and it's just part of the thing. We always come off innocent and sweet, and then people are like, oh, I can do things to it.
By nature, we're kind people, just like my dad. My dad was a really kind carpenter. And my first husband, he came down the stairs really fast at this party, and he goes, oh my God, Bill looks really PO'd. He looks like he's going to beat the crap out of somebody. And my husband, John Owens, at the time said, oh, that's Bill. He's not like that. And his best friend was there, and he goes, oh no, I've seen that guy beat the hell out of foremen like crazy. They were giving him crap. Back in the good old days, I guess, when you could just beat the crap out of people that deserved it, right? So anyway, I guess my dad, he'd be like, what, 104 now? He used to just go to town as a carpenter. I had no idea the carpenters union was so violent. But I guess historically it was one of the most violent. But yeah, that man, my dad, his mother died when I was 2, and I looked just like her. And anyway, he was raised in a logging camp. They did a lot of logging. So yeah, those guys know how to fight because there's always a fight going on. So they learn how to kick ass real young.
Yeah, well, you can get screwed because I'll catch your ass. Okay, so then all of a sudden, Kevin goes behind my back. This is
the first document when my mom passes, and she passes on June 23rd, 2015. She body hops into one of my friends' bodies and leads me to a storage unit to find this document because she knew this is why I would not talk to her, and she proved me right. And it was just part of her, God lets people redeem themselves because he sees sometimes they're not all bad, but this is what he leads me to. She leads me to. She leads me to this document to show Kevin recorded my land onto another plat and wrote a company check from the Alaska Birch Syrup Company to do a crime against me. And my mom wanted me to know it. And this is the first document. My friend starts sounding like my best friend starts sounding like my mom. And she's like, you have to go. You have to go to the storage shed now. And Kevin just hopped on a plane and went to the slope. And my friend is just sounding like my mom. And she'll even say to this day, I do not know why I talked to you like that. I demanded you go to that storage facility. A little body hopping going on.
My premarital land onto this plat I know nothing about. So, right? And so he does it on 5/5/2009. He writes a check for it, 1014. And he uses his company check.
By law, only an owner is supposed to remit and record their land. So they broke federal law doing this. But they don't care because they're doing it. They're planning an entire estate robbery. And sometimes these things take years. And my friends go, are you sure that's his legal name? Because it looks like he was sent in to deceive you day one when he met you. And I said, yeah, my friend HS brought that up. Yeah, she goes, it looks like this was a planned out estate robbery.
Alaska Birch Syrup Company, whose name is it? It's Kim Elgie on this land that everybody wants to steal, either by trafficking me or, some crap. But there it is, right? Kim Elgie, this is where I live with my kid, and everybody wants to pretend I live in Dixon, California. Okay, so we got that. Okay, this is so old to me. I don't even care about this. I mean, I do, but, not much I can do. I'm trapped in the swamp. So anyway, there it is. And, this is the plat that was before. So, right. So it should have just showed a new plat with this little thing and the vacation to Hastings Road. That should have just showed that, right? And that's all it should have showed. There was entrance from this side. There was entrance from this side. So it could be done. And these two pieces would have been joined in a sense, but there would have been a property line down here, which is a 10-foot tree, a green belt, right? Okay, so we got rid of the road. There's a green belt. We'll have no idea that they're going to, take my land behind my back now because Kevin wants to prevent me from selling my property. He wants to trap me. He wants this property. He's even going to go out of his way to put me in a fit.
And he kept asking, I get life insurance. What do you think about getting life insurance? And I said, I think it's perfectly fine for you to get life insurance. I said, I have enough assets. I don't need it. You'd get a lot. Why do I need to get life insurance? He just wanted me to because he's planned all this crap out. He wants an extra $500,000 for his greedy, sorry, succubus ass. You're a succubus, just like your little friend that works for you.
Divorce, they're going to traffic
sewer
me,
succubus. They're called sewer succubus.
This is what it should have been. Right? Yeah, okay. So this is the plat they come up with. Yes. So all of a sudden, my land disappears from this one that shows on the second page. It's full commercial.
I think it's funny, sewer succubus. It's because they're dirty, so they, it's not only they're a succubus, they're a sewer succubus.
Right? Okay. And then it ends up mysteriously on this whole other thing, right? In its own little subdivision thing, okay? And it's tracks G1, G2,
Plat 20930.
And they tell me immediately, no, the city official showed up at my front door. This is how gang-stalked I am in this place. I do not want to be here. My intelligence level is way superior to this.
It is.
So
it is.
Because I don't go around and flaunt it all the time doesn't mean it's not true.
I never tell people I'm smart or anything, ever. I've never done it, ever.
Right here.
It's a rule not
to move down here.
You don't do it. You never tell people how intelligent you are. You just don't do it.
They show up to my house and they tell me, you have to take your commercial signs now. It's now residential. It's residential. You have to take your signs down. So city officials show up. Well, Kevin goes down because they're his buds. Then he talks to them, and so then they don't make me take my signs down. But they still say that my property is, residential, right? So then I go to Loan Depot, and Loan Depot comes back See, and they lead me to believe, you know, I mean, when I'm signing this crap, I think they took it in for me. They lead me to believe that it's just still plat 84251. You know, I mean, there it is, you know, plat
That's right.
84251.
Yeah.
I don't see plat 20930.
They're not going to put 20930 over there.
Plat
No.
84251.
Yeah.
Emoji. I'm
Yeah.
signing off on plat 84251. Yeah, this same plat over here.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing over there. So anyway, and Will was really sickly at the time, and you know,
William has Williams syndrome, and so at this time in life, in this 2007 and 8, he actually ended up in the hospital that year and almost died, but because the angels came through and said he had a blood infection, which my doctor said I should have never known about. And his therapist said she only knew of one other kid that had it, and they fell over dead because it's a silent killer. Well, my angels told me he had it. I went to the doctor, demanded blood work. He ended up in the hospital, in Providence Hospital, on pure penicillin, and the Center of Disease, CDC showed up in his hospital room, and people were freaked out because I knew about it. They're like, how did she find out about it? And they're like, she just went to the hospital and demanded blood work saying there was something wrong with him. So yeah, it freaks people out, and you should be freaked out. And this gift doesn't come out to play unless you F around with me.
pretty much devoted to him. So you got to watch out. You know, there's the little snaky predators around the mama with the baby.
That's right.
So anyway, and that's true. So they go and they put my land on that other plat. And then that looks just like this, you know. And they started working on that plat real early. You can tell, too, just like the inheritance fraud.
Before they even have the meeting at the city, you know, because that was a... I forget what they call it. It was a city council memorandum. Before they even have the meeting at the city council, they've already created this plat. Yep.
It's like the divorce fraud. It was all planned out and instigated long before. Oh, what am I doing? Long before I found out about it, right? So anyway, that's what happened there. So then I go to Loan Depot. And I say, well, the city said my property is residential. So I go to Loan Depot because they're saying, this is residential now. It's residential now. It's no longer full commercial. So I go all the way through the loan process, and Loan Depot says, there's something going on with that property. We can't find anybody to appraise it. We got your $276,000 ready to release to you. We need one thing, and that's an appraisal. And nobody in Alaska will appraise it. So I got to pay property taxes on something I can't even sell.
That's right.
I can't even, because they purposely conflicted the title. So what good is it? It's like I'm renting the property, right?
What good is
it's
it?
like I'm renting it because I can't sell. They're preventing me from moving on. They're tying up my resource. They're doing it on purpose, just like
I can't even make repairs because of what they did, and they know it. So, all of a sudden my house falls apart and everything. I can't repair it because of what these guys did to it, right? Did to my property.
The bank fraud, the real estate fraud. Now we go into divorce fraud. We go into inheritance fraud. It's like, meanwhile, I'm just focusing on my child. I have no idea I've entered the predatory jungle. They have to wake up the lioness.
Yeah, they wake me up.
Anyway,
I'm ready to
they
eat
wake
too.
up. So, track G2, And so this was all staged. And so anyway, Loan Depot comes back and says, we're sending it to our underwriters. And I said, okay. He goes, we want to know why nobody in Alaska will appraise this property. Why won't they do it? It's because of this. That's why. Plus, they know this happened. So anyway, he goes, he calls me back up and he goes, well, we found the problem. And I go, yeah. And he goes, well, we can't give you your loan for a residential property. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, yeah, your property is full commercial on title, and that's fine. And they put the zoning area as residential, which is up to 10,000 square feet of commercial use. So they didn't have to go and hide it was commercial. What was the whole point?
Target me.
It was to entrap me, you know, to enslave me, basically prevent any growth that I might have, prevent me from moving, and just isolate me for attack. That's what it was. Just like in the inheritance fraud and everything. It's a whole huge ass book of fraud, I'm telling you.
It took a village.
And it woke up my intuition. Like Fred said, I had this very powerful gift, and I would get, and I was kind of arguing with him, and he said, no, you do. And then I found out, yeah, I really did, but I just never had to use it, right? I use my magical powers for good, not bad. But, you know, I could change.
That's right. That's right.
Not really, because I'm devoted to God. So
I'm devoted to him, but
anyway, yeah, that was the whole thing, to subdivide Tract G, 5 acres into 2 lots. That was it, you know. And they decided they'd go and they'd do other things behind my back so they could, you know, help me develop my intuition. Anyway, bye.
Bye.